I can immediately tell whether somebody is a beginner, intermediate, or more advanced guitar player as soon as they hit a bend. So today I will be teaching you 5 bending techniques that are a great way to level up your playing and get you closer to becoming the advanced player that you dream of becoming. All right, so with that, let's jump right in. This first technique is essential. It's foundational to bending in general, but certainly techniques 3, 4, and 5 that we're going to be covering today. So that's why we got to start with it. That's why it's technique number 1. Now, we're going to put our ring finger on the 9th fret of the G string, and we're also going to put our middle finger and index finger on the G string behind the ring finger. All right, we're going to use those as support for that ring finger bend. Now, the most common finger that we're going to use to bend is the ring finger, so that's why we're messing around with this. Later on, we will be using the middle finger, so the concept stays the same. But for now, we're just messing with the ring finger, and we're going to try bending from the 9th fret to the 10th fret, basically making the 9th fret sound like the 10th fret. So hit the string, use those fingers to support, and try to stop when it sounds like the 10th fret. All right, gradual, slow for now. And feel how much support there is from those fingers. 3 fingers are stronger than 1, and you'll see this all the time with more beginner and intermediate players where they try to bend with that ring finger and it sounds sloppy and wonky, and especially as we get to whole step bends, right? So 9, making 9 sound like 10, a 1 fret jump is a half step, and then a whole step would be 2 frets. All right, so try to get your 9th fret to sound like the 11th fret now. All right, and same thing, keep it gradual for now. We're gonna have a practice lick for each one of these techniques, so just hang tight. And slowly get to that apex. And you can try to do that with just the ring finger. And even if you make it there, you can feel how much more effortful that is. So, if you're playing a gig, even if it's a short gig and you're, taking solos and you're just using that ring finger to hit a bend, wow, that's going to be fatiguing. You're going to cramp up, and all of a sudden it's going to, hinder your playing in another area later on, or, pretty quickly. All right. It's also such an easy way to have a, stronger, obviously, but cleaner and more accurate bend. So, oftentimes that just 1 finger bend is not going to get you to where you want to go, to the correct apex. All right. So this first technique, the first practice lick, it's just going to sound like this. So there it is. We've got a whole step bend on the G string, on the B string, and the high E string. So some subtle differences there by, just based on feel with your fretting hand. So they're gradual bends. Of course, how fast you play it is up to you and your comfortability. But, we're starting with, just a simple note on the front end of each of them. As we make it to that apex of the whole step bend, we transition to the next string. And we've got that, simple hit. So that's the faster bend, trying to get to that whole step bend quickly on that. But of course you can slow it down because this is a practice lick, right? You don't have to play this for anyone. You can do this, alone in whatever space you utilize to practice the guitar. And on that last bend, the high E, the difference is that we're actually bending up quickly and then we're gradually bringing it down. Notice I'm utilizing a vibrato there, and if you need help with that, I've got a video I just put up about, nailing a vibrato, because this next technique is going to, have some elements of, knowing about a vibrato. So I just want to throw that out there, but that's the practice lick. I'm going to give you the tab you just saw in a free download in the description. You know me, if you are familiar with this channel, I'm always going to give you a free download, a free resource when it's needed in the description. So download that, because every single one of these techniques is going to have a practice lick. And obviously it takes time to create these, PDFs and things like that, and create these videos. But I do want to keep them free. I want this to be a free resource, especially for people who need that. And if you appreciate that endeavor, I also in the description have a Buy Me a Coffee link where you can leave a little tip or donation in the effort to keep this free. But hopefully, the channel grows enough where it becomes a self-sufficient, self-sustaining thing. I don't have to ask you to use that link. All right. So of course, like and subscribe. That's the easiest way to support the channel, and the freest way to support the channel. Okay. But the next technique is going to be about pulling the string down slightly to create a half step bend. And there's the vibrato on the D string of the 9th fret that I just used. All right, now when we're thinking about bending, for me, we're thinking about making something sound more vocal. If we're not adding these little flavors, it's gonna sound very robotic, right? So think about a singer. You wouldn't go, ba, 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 ba. Excuse the, attempt at singing, but you know what I mean. Sounds very different than, okay? So it's about making things a little bit more, having more of a vocal quality and potentially just being more expressive. It's ultimately up to you, the flavor you want to add to your playing, but I think it's a really cheap, easy way to add flavor to individual notes. So again, support fingers, all right? Pulling the string down now, we're just gonna go with a half step for now. And then index finger as well. All right, you can potentially pull further than that, but if you're gonna go with that style of bending, or you're gonna go with that big of a bend, I would actually just bend up. You have more space, obviously, to bend up. If you're using the G string, B string, and high E string, think about trying to pull down. You're gonna pull the string off the neck. So if you're an upside down, lefty, playing a lefty style, and the guitar is just flipped upside down, that's where guys like, Albert King and, Eric Gales would be like the newer era of that. You're going to pull those strings down. But for 99.9% of us, we're going to be bending up the G and high E strings. So anyways, support with your, middle and index. All right, and just, you can try that. We're gonna do a practice lick in just a second, but. All right. And there's the practice lick. We're just gonna keep it really simple. But you want to be moving through this, scale, or any scale, with a little bit of movement to these strings. So when, you're playing something simple, it can sound a little bit more flavorful without really, pushing you to the brink of your capabilities with regards to, playing faster, playing shapes you feel uncomfortable with. You can keep it really simple pentatonic shape, and all of a sudden, it sounds really expressive because you're working this pull. All right, so again, the practice lick. And even though this note is a quick hit, you can pull it slightly. It doesn't have to be that, half step bend. It can be a little bit less. Just something to add a little bit of flavor. right? So you might not even be able to hear it, but you can just give it a little tug as you make contact quickly, all right? But it's a great flavor, super simple, and it is, even though we're thinking about pulling down, right? It's still a bend. And the reason I think it's important to differentiate from a vibrato, you're pulling down slightly, but here you're not returning to a neutral position. You're transitioning to the next note without, coming to that neutral position. All right, so that's kind of the subtle difference between other bends where you're coming up, you're coming down. This is, moving to other strings or finishing, a run on an individual note, right? A little punch. That's enough on exercise too. I can be wordy, but I think context, knowing when to use these things is really important. So be it, right? As we get into exercise 3, I can be rigid about how you should practice things, set at this amount of time, set a timer for 3 minutes, 5 minutes, whatever you have time for. I think these are fun techniques and skills, but certainly if you want to sound expressive, you want to work on your bends, you can go for like 10 to 20 reps on each, practice lick, but setting a 3 to 5 minute timer, I think would get you more reps. And then of course you just have this nice little cutoff. And that's the deal, right? Try to play them clean, everything like that. So for this technique, we're going to move up to this little, extension shape, still the same pentatonic scale, B minor / D major. All right, and we're going to put our ring finger on the 12th fret of the high E, whole step bend, and as we come down, we're going to re-hit when the note is still bent slightly, so it's still sharp. You can think of it as coming down to a half step, so whole step to half step. All right, and there's that kind of like same pull flavor. I'm doing it with the index finger. That's kind of a bonus. But there's kind of an index finger bend, but it's it's just that little flavor. Same note, just, accentuated differently based on what room you have, right? You can't pull this note down. It's gonna come off the neck. So lower it. All right, and hitting it sharp, it's just, again, a different flavor. A little bit more of a vocal quality than bringing it all the way down. Nothing wrong with that, but I find that to be a little bit more unique, a little more expressive, but that's me, okay? So make these decisions based on your preference, what you feel comfortable with, and what you feel sounds good. Now, there's 2 ways to do this, right? You can do the re-hit, or you can bring it down quickly to that half step part, that half step marker basically, and you'll get that same sound. So one might be, a little bit more drawn out, and then one might be, for a little bit of a faster flavor. All right, but that's the deal. And that's gonna be the lick as well. Let's not overcomplicate things. So try a few where you have that second hit, and then try a few where you don't have the second hit and you just lower things. All right, and this is a big time blues flavor. This technique and then the next technique, I would kind of put in like the Albert King bucket. And of course, Stevie Ray Vaughan is an Albert King, not the right word would be thief, but he's great at, recycling Albert King licks, and of course Freddie King and BB King and all those things like that, but certainly a flavor you'll hear in his playing. So there's technique 3. Now technique 4 is similar in that we're kind of having that walk down from the bend, but instead of hitting the same string, we're gonna do a whole step bend from 12 to 14. And then we're going to hit a whole step bend from 11 to 13 using our middle finger. So again, the support from our index becomes important here. All right, so a little bit different. I find the subtle difference for me is that you can bring maybe a little bit more intensity to this because there's that whole step bend feel to get you to 13, right? So, right, instead of using the same, same note to hit it, you can get this kind of re-bend and kind of re-establish a bend that just has a slight edge as far as intensity is concerned, in my opinion. All right, so in order to do this, hit that whole step bend. As you transition, you're kind of coming down slightly to kind of re-establish what sounds like another bend. You're not coming all the way down. All right, but you're also not walking it down and staying in the same spot, right? Sounds different. And that's going to be the lick for technique 4, just to create some variety. All right, so there is the practice lick for technique 4. And once you get it under your fingers, it's not that difficult of a technique, but it sounds great. And it's a great one if you're like, oh, where should I go next? Or I don't want to kind of, maybe you're more like me, you're not, constantly shredding. I'm just not a big shredder, okay? But something melodic, all of a sudden, that can grab some people's attention, and it'll also give you time to take a breath and move on to something else because people are still chewing on that like, whoa. Right, and you can kind of move in a more fluid, slower, more methodical manner, depending on your skill level. All right, so there's technique 4. Technique 5 is going to be a nice vibrato at the top of our bend. And so we're gonna go back to the G string on the 9th fret. So we're gonna hit a whole step bend. All right, so making the 9th fret sound like the 11th fret. And when you get to that apex, you're coming down slightly and then reestablishing that full, bend all the way up. So, right, you can hear that kind of wobble, and I'm going really slow. Ultimately, you will have to speed it up to get that, vibrato sound. But that's the deal. Establish the whole step bend and then start bringing it down ever so slightly. You're not bringing it down to a half step, right? So don't think, right, like the technique we did on, technique 3, kind of technique 4, but we're not coming that low. All right. Slight like wobble more than anything. So up. And then repeat that. Repeat, repeat, repeat. So when we come up, we're re-hitting to bring a gradual bend down, right? And then run through the rest of the lick, phrase, if you don't think it's quite big enough to be considered a lick. But there's the deal. You can, rewind and re-listen to the licks. Not too complicated. Download the PDF so that you can work on this on your own time. You don't need to come back to this video every single time you want to work on these techniques, but these are really important. Isolate them, and I say this constantly, isolate them here so that, you can bring them into your own playing, more efficiently. And of course, when you're learning a solo or a lead line or a fill that has a bend that's utilizing one of these techniques, you won't have to be like learning the various shapes and, where that person is going in their solos and, learn the bending technique. the actual technique will be down, and then it's up to you to kind of learn what that player is doing inside of their solo with regards to the movement, scale shapes, triads, arpeggios they're using, okay? That's the deal though. I hope it was very helpful to you. Like and subscribe, that's the deal. Download the PDF. I said that a million times already. And thanks for stopping by. I appreciate you all. I will see you all on the next one. Peace.